Hi, today we'll be looking into a literary piece titled American Pastoral, written by one of the most critically acclaimed, controversial, and widely read contemporary prize-winning American author, Philip Roth, whose novels fearlessly narrates sex, death, assimilation, and fate. Philip Roth is an atheist who believes that when the whole world doesn't believe in God, it will be a great place. He also said during an interview with The Guardian, "I'm exactly the opposite of religious. I'm anti-religious. I find religious people hideous. I hate religious lies. It's all a big lie." He also added, "When I write, I'm alone. It's filled with fear and loneliness and anxiety, and I never needed religion to save me." Despite his beliefs, this American novelist and short story writer is famous and one of the most awarded American writers of his generation. So, let's take a closer look to his life, achievements, notable works, and awards. Despite his beliefs, this American novelist and short story writer is famous in America and one of the most awarded American writers of his generation. So, let's take a closer look to his life, achievements, notable works, and awards. He was born in March 9, 1933 in Newark, New Jersey. He grows in a Jewish family and graduated from Newark Wequahic High School. In 1954, he graduated at Bucknell University with BA in English. 1955, he graduated at the University of Chicago with MA in English Literature. He also served 2 years in the U.S. Army. He retired from writing fiction in 2012 at the age of 80. He died at the age of 85 in May 22, 2018. Next is his academic career. He worked as an instructor in the university's writing program at the University of Chicago. He taught creative writing at the University of Iowa and Princeton University, and comparative literature at the University of Pennsylvania. For his major works, in 1959, we have Goodbye Columbus, 1967, When She Was Good, 1969, Portnoy's Complaint, 1979, The Ghost Writer, 1993, Operation Shylock, A Confession, 1995, Sabbath Theater, and our literary piece for today, in 1997, The American Pastoral. We also have other works from 1998 to 2010. And just like what I've mentioned a while ago, Philip Roth is one of the most awarded American writers of his generation. So, let's take a look of his awards and honors. In 1959, he got the National Book Award for his literary piece Goodbye Columbus and 5 short stories. In 1986, National Book Critics Circle Award for The Counter Life. In 1991, National Book Critics Circle Award for Patrimony. 1993, Poets, Essayists, Novelist Faulkner Award for Operation Shylock. And in 1995, the National Book Award for his literary piece Sabbath Theater. also, in 1997, the Pulitzer Prize American Pastoral. In 1998, Ambassador Book Award for English Speaking Union for I Married a Communist and National Medal of Arts at the White House. Another PEN Award for The Human Stain, and Britain's W.H. Smith Award for the Best Book of the Year. He also bagged the Kafka Prize and received the highest award of the American Academy of Arts and Letters, the Gold Medal in Fiction, given every 6 years for the entire work of the recipient. In 2005, he was honored in his hometown when Mayor Sharp James presided over the unveiling of a street sign in Roth's name, where he lived for much of his childhood. In 2006, the New York Times Book Review, the single best work of American published in recent 25 years. Here, 6 of his novels were included in the top 22 selected literary pieces, and another PEN Award. In 2007, another PEN Saul Bellow Award for American Fiction, and another PEN Award for his literary piece Everyman. In 2011, he got the National Humanities Medal at the White House. In 2013, he was proclaimed as the 4th recipient of the Man Booker International Prize. Now let us have the novel. The literary piece is a family drama. It's a historical fiction. It belongs to the postmodernism literary movement, and the format is novel. It was published in 1997, and the setting of the novel is in Newark, New Jersey, the 1960s and 1970s. The narrator is Nathan Zuckerman. This is the famous narrator whom the writer is using in most of his literary pieces. Point of view, first person and third person. Tone and mood, contentious, violent, chaotic, sad, solemn, radical, and historical. Now let us have the literary piece American Pastoral. Winner of the Pulitzer Prize. This is the masterpiece of Philip Roth, an elegy for the American century's promises of prosperity, civic order, and domestic bliss. Roth's protagonist is Swede Lvov, a legendary athlete at his Newark High School who grows up in the booming post-war years to marry a former Miss New Jersey, inherit his father's glove factory, and move into a stone house in the idyllic hamlet of Old Dream Rock. And then one day in 1968, Swede's beautiful American luck deserts him. For Swede's adored daughter, Mary has grown from a loving, quick-witted girl into a sullen, fanatical teenager, a teenager capable of an outlandishly savage act of political terrorism, and overnight Swede is wrenched out of the longed-for American pastoral and into the indigenous American Berserk, compulsively readable, propelled by sorrow, rage, and a deep compassion for its characters. American Pastoral gives us Philip Roth at the height of his powers. Here are the characters of the novel. First on the list is Nathan Zuckerman, narrator of the book or the story but not the protagonist. His idol is Seymour Swede Lvov, When he learned that his idol had died, he wanted to figure out why the man's life fell apart and what that implies for his own life course. Next is Seymour Swidlevov, the protagonist of the story. He set himself up to participate in idealized country life. Happy with wife and kids, he inherited his dad's glove factory. Meredith Mary Lvov, Seymour's only daughter, she's mentally unstable teenager, and when the Vietnam War broke out and the racial violence in Newark skyrocketed, she snapped and set off a bomb at the local post office. And then we have Dawn Dwyer, Seymour's wife. She shared husband's desire to capture the idyllic country life, but later had an affair with an illustrious architect named William Orcutt III. She was convinced that she's in love with William, so she had a facelift and promised to leave her husband for him. We also have Lou Lvov, father to Swede and Jerry. He introduced the Swede to business and was responsible for all that he knew about the leather industry. Sylvia Lvov is the wife of Lou Lvov and mother to Jerry and Swede. She portrayed as conventional housewife in the story and portrayed reasonable levels of kindness and love. Jerry Lvov is Seymour's younger brother and a heart surgeon. Sheila Salzman, Mary's speech therapist, had an affair with Seymour. She and her husband hid Mary in their home for a while when the bombing occurs. And then Rita Cohen, the woman whom Seymour credits with the bombings. She was part of a larger operating consortium of radicals who opposed the Vietnam War. She was the one who urged Mary to set off the bomb. And then Angela Davis, a renowned African-American leftist and political activist who contributed heavily to the upheavals in the 1960s. And here are the other characters of the novel. This time, let us have the 3-act plot analysis so we can have an overview of the whole novel. Act 1, labeled as Paradise Remembered. In this act, we learn that the author Nathan Zuckerman's high school idol, Seymour Swede Lvov, has died. The Swede had a daughter who bombed a post office in the small town of Rimrock, New Jersey. She too has died. From the few clues Zuckerman has, he sets out to imagine what the Swede's life might have been like with his daughter before and after the bombing. He turns his imaginings into a novel. Included in this act are some of his imaginings, such as an uncomfortable scene where the Swede kisses Mary when she is 11, and a series of scenes when she is older and very angry about the Vietnam War. The act ends with a paragraph about Mary blowing up the post office. Act 2, The Fall. In this act, Zuckerman seems to drop out of the story. The rest of the novel seems to be told in the third person, from the Swede's perspective. The act begins 4 months after the bombing. Rita Cohen comes to see the Swedes at Newark Maid and then extorts him for money, supposedly for Mary. This act covers a 5-year period where the Swede desperately waits for another word about his daughter and where he tries to figure out what happened to make things turn out so ugly. At the end of the 5 years, he gets a letter from Rita Cohen telling him where Mary is. He finds Mary and learns lots of terrible things. She really was the bomber. She has killed 3 more people. She's been raped twice. He also learns that she now considers herself a Jain, Indian religion, and has taken a vow of non-violence. And the last act, Act 3, is labeled Paradise Lost. Most of the final act is centered around a dinner party happening at the Swede's house after he's seen Mary. Bill and Jesse Urquhart, Barry and Marcia Umanoff, Shelley and Sheila Salzman, Lou and Sylvia Lvov, and Don and the Swede are in attendance. The conversation turns to Watergate and then to the film Deep Throat, reminding us that we are in the 1970s. There are lots of intense moments like the Swede seeing Don and Bill Urquhart having sex in the kitchen and the bizarre phone call from Rita Cohen. We also learn about the Swede's brief affair with Sheila. The act includes more of the Swede's memories of his life before the bombing. Throughout the act, he's trying to decide whether to go back and get Mary or to run away with Sheila or to run away with Mary. The novel ends with the Swede's father getting stabbed in the face with a fork when he's trying to force a very drunk Jesse Urquhart to eat pie. We also have other elements of the novel. You have the themes: political unrest, religion, betrayal, past and future, rebellion, blame, and loneliness. For the symbols, first we have gloves, symbol of success. The Lvov family make their fortune from gloves. Their rise within their community is based on gloves worn by the wealthy. This exclusivity is what brings them success. Exclusivity is also what makes the Swede larger than life to the community. This success leads them to lives of fortune, but also to lives of despair. Next is baked city, symbol of family. The Swede's family loves baked ziti. The Swede eats baked ziti when he meets Nathan Zuckerman to show a connection with his family that cannot be broken even when his family life is in turmoil. Family is a strong connection and one that is not easy to break. Third is bomb, symbol of rebellion. By being part of a bombing, Mary is rebelling against the perfection of her father's life. The world around them is in turmoil, and that is not seen in the life that they live in New Jersey. They live a privileged life, and Mary rebels against it. The fourth one is the young Swede, symbol of hope for the Jewish community rocked by World War II. He is seen as Americanized and successful for his triumph in sports. He is looked up to by young and old. The Swede is a stronger future and hope that they will all be accepted. And the last one is Mary's veil, symbol of disconnection. She and her father will never see eye to eye, and behind the veil, Mary can hide. She feels a disconnection with her family and society. The veil makes her feel more secure with herself and able to face her father and society. And finally, students' activity. For the pre-reading activity, students will be given this situation. At the heart of American Pastoral is the conflict created within the United States by the Vietnam War. Find out, through a simple research or reading, how the United States got involved in the war, why the war created such opposition at home, and what the eventual outcome was. In what ways does the Vietnam War still affect the United States today? And for the while reading activity, students will fill the storyboard timeline to be able to visualize the plot of the story or sequence of events. They are going to write 3 to 5 sentences in each board for the summary of each event of the story. They will use this 3-act plot summary board. So we have here Act 1, Paradise Remembered, Act 2, The Fall, and Act 3, Paradise Lost. And then for the post-reading activity, form a group with 3 other students. Discuss why teenagers sometimes rebel against their parents. What values do you not share with those of your parents' generation? Make a class presentation that shows the issues between parents and your generation and give suggestions or possible solution on how to cope up with this gap. That would be all. Thank you for listening.